So I was around 15 years old whenever I first discovered it. And I know that there's probably some people watching this who are gonna think, well, dude, that's pretty late, man. Like, were you a late bloomer? Like, most people now are finding corn at the age of like 8, man. You must have been late to the party. And I was. I remember even in like 6th grade, people in my class would be talking about girls. They'd be talking about how hot they were and how big their butts were. And I would just be wondering, like, why are they talking about this stuff? Like, they'd be doing like this. These degenerate kids in my private school would be doing like this hand motion. They're like, what are they doing? Like, what does that even mean? And it wasn't until 4 years later that I finally ended up having my first wet dream. And I remember waking up in the morning and having this stuff inside of my shorts and wondering, is this semen? Like, is this what they've been talking about in school? Shortly after that, I ended up realizing like, oh, dude, I can bust a nut now. Like, maybe I should look up what these guys have been talking about in school and figure out like, what is this corn stuff that everybody talks about? And I remember I ended up searching up like literally the word corn and doing my first deep dive, and I ended up relapsing. And I remember doing it and being like,
I can do it, let's go. Like, this is awesome. How have I never done this before?
And from that point on, I was hooked. On that same day, I ended up doing it 2 more times, and a cycle began where from that day forward, I was doing it probably 4 or 5 times a day. And that cycle ended up going on for 8 years. And whenever you're young and you don't have like the right godly men around you to tell you that it's wrong, you think, dude, this is awesome. Like, this is great. This is healthy. And you end up thinking that you're doing the right thing, right? All the scientists on the internet are telling me if I don't beat one out at least once a day or a few times a week, then I'm gonna end up getting prostate cancer. And I don't wanna get prostate cancer. So I gotta keep doing this. This is good. And I truly believe that I wasn't doing anything wrong until the age of 18. And this is whenever I had my very first sexual encounter. And obviously this is before Christ. And to keep a long story short, I ended up meeting up with this girl that I met off of Tinder, and we attempted to engage in sexual intercourse. And I say that because when it was time to get down and do the dirty, nothing happened. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing down there happened. I ended up getting what I would later find out to be erectile dysfunction. And I remember wondering, why isn't it working? Like, it worked literally a few hours ago whenever I was watching corn at my house. Like, why isn't it working now? I can get off to pixels on a screen. Why doesn't this thing work whenever it's real life and it's reality? I remember thinking to myself, I know I'm not gay. Like, what's wrong with me? And it wasn't until years later that I ended up realizing why a perfectly healthy male was experiencing erectile dysfunction. It was because I had trained my brain to see all the fancy lighting and these 10 out of 10 girls and all these positions that the camera's in, and all this stuff was just fake, all made up. And I was never gonna be able to experience what I could get in corn in real life. And after realizing that everything that I've been doing behind a phone screen was wrong, I ended up stumbling across the NoFap Reddit pages. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there are entire subreddit pages of people that talk about NoFap, talking about,
getting on NoFap and taking cold showers and willpower and, retaining your seed so that you can, have a harder erection and be able to go and bang more chicks.
And so they give you all these tips and tricks on how to, stay strong and not fall back into porn or masturbate. But at the same time, like, they heavily encourage you going and banging all these random women that you're not married to. And I remember thinking at the time, like, this is the key, man. This is gonna be awesome. Like, I'm gonna be able to perform with these girls and everything's gonna be great. I'm gonna have better orgasms and all this stuff. Like, I found the key. This is what I needed. And so I started, putting into practice what these goons on the internet were telling me to do. I was white knuckling my way through NoFap and deleting the social media and avoiding anything that would cause me to relapse. And I was going and having sex with these girls. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm fine during the week when I'm not having sex with random women and I'm going strong, but then I'll go and I'll, hook up with some random girl. And then after I hook up with her, instead of feeling good, like, man, this is awesome, I feel accomplished, that was great, I still feel bad. And I remember wondering, why do I still feel bad? I'm doing what the world tells me is gonna make me feel happy. I'm having sex with these girls and I'm still not happy. Like, what am I missing? Now, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Braden. I help Christian men to transform their lives through faith-based self-improvement. Now, do me a favor right now, scroll down and hit that subscribe button, and I promise you, it's gonna be a win-win for the both of us. One thing that I need you to realize is all these goons on NoFap are lying to you. They tell you that you're gonna get on NoFap and all these women are all of a sudden they're just gonna feel your energy, man, and you're just gonna be able to make all this eye contact and there's gonna be so much sexual tension and you're gonna start levitating and all of a sudden you're just gonna bang all these chicks, man. It's gonna be awesome. And all of this is total BS. I wanna let you in on a little secret. The point of you retaining your seed is not so that you can bang all these degenerate women. The point of semen retention is so that you can grow in your relationship with God and you can harness that energy into finding your masculine purpose. Stop jumping through all these hoops and trying to chase and please these random women. That is exactly what NoFap is. It tells you that you're not enough, you need to do more, you need to white knuckle your way through not busting any nuts so that you can have a strong erection so that you can please these random girls. It's total crap. The gurus are lying to you, and that's exactly what the devil does. It tells you like a little bit of the truth, like, no, porn is bad, don't watch porn, don't masturbate. But instead of telling you that you need to just retain your seed fully and practice semen retention and practice celibacy so that you can be ready for the woman that you marry, the devil just twists everything where you're focused on not watching porn and not masturbating so that you can harness your energy to go bang all these random girls who you're not married to. You need to realize that masculine men do not chase women, and they also don't seek out pleasure because all of that is effeminate. The effeminate man chases pleasure. Masculine men chase God and they chase their purpose. The only person that you should be trying to please is the Lord. And the main reason that you should be trying to retain your seed is because the Bible calls us to live sexually pure lives and to abstain from any form of sexual immorality. And that's according to 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 18. Our bodies are a temple of the Holy Spirit. And the Bible also calls us to honor God with our bodies and the things that we allow ourselves to see. God realizes how destructive porn, masturbation, and premarital sex are. And he warns us against these things because he doesn't want you to live a life where you're just a slave to these addictions and a slave to where you feel depressed and unfulfilled and empty every single day. So what you need to do is you need to not bust any nuts. You need to get on semen retention and you need to honor the Lord, seek God out every single day, make him a number one priority and wait for him to provide you with a helpmate or a wife. Don't just get on NoFap and try and, retain your seed so that you can just, save it for whenever you can bust it up with some random girl that you meet off a dating app or even a girl that you're dating right now. If you're not married to her, you should not be sleeping with her. And if you're single right now, the only thing that you should be focused on is seeking out the Lord. Like your mantra for living right now should be following after Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, which tells us to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Don't you realize that God created everything? He created you. He knows the desires of your heart. He knows that you want to have a wife one day, that you want to have a family, that you want to have kids of your own one day. But at the same time, he realizes that whenever you fall into these things, you're destroying yourself. I said a verse earlier, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 18 says that we are to flee from sexual immorality because all other sins that a man commits are outside of the body. But the man who sins sexually sins against his own body. I promise you, porn and masturbation will destroy you, and you need to take action to get a hold of it now before it's too late. Trust me, I know how hard it is to try and stay pure. I've been on semen retention for over 2 years now. I know that there's so many temptations, but as masculine Christian men, we're called to a higher standard. And if you really want to be used by God, you have to be living a sexually pure life. All the porn, all the masturbation, the sex, it's all a distraction, and it throws you off your purpose. The world lies to you. It tells you, oh, you need to go approach these women and seek after these women. It's all BS. I promise you. If you follow God and you make him the number one priority in your life, and you make it a priority to serve him with the things that you do and the things that you spend your time on, God is going to allow you to build up his kingdom. And at that point, once you've built something that's sustainable, he can bring you your helpmate. Stop chasing these women. Stop chasing after instant gratification. You need to start to delight in delayed gratification. And you also need to realize that no part of being on semen retention or living a sexually pure life is going to be easy. And oftentimes, the things that are most worth it in this life are going to be the hardest to actually get. Like, think about me trying to grow this YouTube channel. I've posted like almost 30 videos already. We have about 400 subscribers, right? So everything is a grind. Everything that's worth doing is going to be hard. And I want to take a moment to encourage you. I have tons of videos on this channel. If you need help with living a sexually pure life or getting on a semen retention, I'll throw cards up here so you can check those out. I promise you that getting on semen retention and becoming a godly man and staying pure for your future wife are going to be well worth it in the end. And if you made it this far, please take my advice, man. No more NoFap, no more chasing women. The only being that you need to chase after is the Lord. I hope that you learned something from today's video. I hope that God blesses you, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.